This video demonstrates how to get up and running with the Azure DevOps PR server that we've built that goes and checks ARM templates against the Azure validation endpoint. There's some unit tests here that you should check to make sure they run before you start. If any of these fail, you need to go and have a look at the configuration bits and pieces in the README file on the GitHub repo. There's a bunch of passwords and access tokens and URLs and things that you need to pop in. But once that's working, fire up the website, press play in Visual Studio, and have a look at the port that you get there. Because what we need to do is we actually need to go and punch in an ngrok command. You can go and download ngrok. That'll expose this web server to the internet, which will then access back from Azure DevOps. So I've already got one running. So just need to copy the URL of the running host there and add on to that URL API/PR create/NSG check, because if you have a look at Visual Studio at the controller, you can see that the URL is going to be API/PR create/NSG check. So that's how we get that. So we go and copy that and then navigate over into Azure DevOps and on the project settings, find service hook. So this is project settings, not tenant settings. So make sure you're in your actual project and then click create subscription, find webhooks and go next. In the list, you'll see pull request created. Just leave the settings as they are. You can tailor those if you like. I'm going to set a breakpoint in the controller here because I'm about to run a test to make sure that VSTS, or Azure DevOps, can actually contact it. And you can see there that the checks happened. So we can validate that the communication is working. And we'll go and repeat this process again for PR updated. So that way we get both the new PR and the updated. And again, just check that that test has worked. So we can see that that's coming through. Finish that. So now the whenever a pull request is created or updated, it's going to call back to our server. So what I'm actually going to do is just before I go and create the pull request, I'm going to go and basically create some more settings and set some branch security up. So what we do is we go into the branches and then click the little dots and go to branch policies on the branch that you want to protect. We want to set the minimum number of reviewers to 1 and allow the reviewers to review their own. Now what we actually have to do is punch in a new status policy that until it passes, this PR will not be allowed to go through. And so it's validation/ARM validator. And in the app settings before, we could see that that's changeable. So now what we need to do is in Visual Studio, we've got that branch checked out. We're going to go and create a new ARM template that's going to be validated. There's some samples ARM templates in ARM samples under the prserver.tests folder. So go and copy one of those. This one's actually pre-broken. It's got a bad priority. In network security groups, priorities are not allowed to be under 1,000 or 100. And I've also just accidentally, on purpose, removed a comma from that file. So when I actually commit it, it's going to be broken. Now make sure that the web server is running in the other project and commit and push up that bad NSG ARM template. And you can see here that you can see my edit. So I'm going to go create a pull request. And on the PR, just give it a name. Now you'll notice that there's nothing on this screen that says that I want to do this check. It's all created by the administrator of this branch. And so as soon as I create it, you can see there's that validator/ARM validator there, and it's immediately failed. That's actually failed on JSON checking. So what I want to do is I want to be able to work on this PR server through unit tests rather than having to submit new pull requests every time. So what I can actually do is copy the serial file that we just wrote out from that controller into the serialized objects, and then in the unit tests, I can go in And basically, that's the wrong one. In the unit test, I can go in and say I want to use that same pull request, deserialize it, and then actually run in the unit test instead of having to run through the web request, which means that I can iterate much faster. And so I'm going to write out to the pull request here, all seems good, dude. But what I've actually done is the request that I've just popped in there is old, and I was working on a previous pull request. So if I try and run the test now, it will fail. It'll come up red, so there it is. What's happened is I was working on this before and I've gone and closed the pull request and I forgot to update the file. So what I might actually do instead is I might go and actually overwrite the request serialization file with the current one. And it still hasn't updated. And the reason for that is that I just needed to rebuild the app because it didn't actually copy the file over to the new place. It didn't overwrite the old file. So I'm just going to go rebuild, which will then go and actually copy that file, wait for that to rebuild. As you can see, I'm rather impatient. Okay, run that test now. And what it'll do is go up and I'll actually edit the pull request from the unit test. So that way you can iterate and make sure that everything gets working. There's a second one example here whereby we can actually go in and see the files that are in the pull request. So I go and run pull request clean. This time I'll debug it and set a breakpoint. And it's going to go and pull all the files from the latest revision of that pull request. So here you can see the file contents. Plenty in there. Looks good. So remembering to rerun the web server before we do the next stage, or else you'll miss the callback. What we'll do is we'll go and edit the pull request to fix it. So I can just go and do the usual workflow of edit, commit, and push up to the same branch to update the PR. So what I've done is I've just I've fixed that silly comma mistake there, commit that, and I'll push it up into the branch, which will automatically update the pull request, which will invalidate the required checks. So you can see it's running again. It's done the callback to the web server. It's in progress. And this time it's actually failed off the Azure validation endpoint, and it's able to check some pretty strange things. For example, I've got a bad value in there. It's not a schema fail, not JSON schema. It's actually been checked by the validation endpoint. So have a look at this one. This is really weird. This is an overlapping network. That'd be really hard to check with just straight up JSON validation or JSON schemas. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting in this overlapping network, which I might not actually pick up properly until too late, and I'm trying to deploy all this to my site. So now it's checking that again. You can see that it's failed, and here comes the comment. This time it's actually got that there are overlapping networks. So Azure's rejected that on the test deployment. So I'll go and fix up that, and we'll actually let this guy work. So it should be in a good state now. So we'll just go and push up this latest fix to the PR. Sync that. Okay. And now it's running again. It's been invalidated, the policies. Here we go. And it should come through successful. There we are. And you can see that it scanned one file and it's passed. So now we can actually go in and complete the PR, and it won't be blocked on policy. And so there it goes. So just a reminder, that was a very quick video, but go through the README file on the GitHub repo for all the instructions written out. And if you have any problems, just leave a message or create an issue. I'd be happy to respond.